Welcome back to my channel and a very special welcome if you're new here. My name is Jen and this is Jen Clayton Beauty, and today is the start of declutter. We are going to be ranking all of the eyeshadow palettes that I tried in 2025 from worst to best. I will go ahead and pop up here on the screen the total number of palettes that I tried out this year. It's a lot. It is not as much as last year, which was over 100, but I still tried quite a few eyeshadow palettes out this year, and we had some amazing palettes and we had some not so amazing palettes. So we're going to rank them from worst to best. So if you're excited, give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not, turn your bell on because I am in declutter mode, and you are going to see those videos throughout January. Down in the description box, I will link all of the eyeshadow palettes that I tried. If they're still available, the direct link will be down there. Any discount information. Thank you so much for using my links if you want to pick any of these up. It really does help support my channel. I will also have my favorite beauty subscription boxes, all of the makeup that I'm wearing today, if you would like to shop this look, and then of course, discounts to my favorite indie brands. Just a quick note, following the ranking comes the eyeshadow palette declutter. I am also doing a full makeup declutter. This is going to include face palettes, cream blushes, blushes, highlights, lip products, liners. We got a lot of declutter coming. So let's jump into ranking all of the palettes I tried in 2025 from worst to best. The worst palette of 2025 was so easy for me. A lot of the other rankings were hard. This was a no-brainer, and that is the Base Blue X Meet, the Artistry eyeshadow palette. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. Everything about this palette is terrible. It's this weird artwork, which is fine. It's fine, but all this palette is shimmers and lackluster ones at that. Absolutely a terrible palette. The quality is awful. They do not build up. There's no color payoff. They're not blendable. And like I said, it's all shimmers, and it's weird shimmers. It's colors you would never use. And this is not a cohesive look. You would have to pull in some type of matte palette. Now, most of the palettes I'm showing you, actually probably all of them, I have testing new makeups on. This one, it was not a good time, and it was easily my least favorite palette of 2025. Next up is this palette here from Beauty for Certain. This is the Playa to Palazzo palette. This is a very neutral palette. We've got one shimmer and 4 mattes. These 2 mattes are exactly the same. They don't look any different on the eyes. This matte barely looks different than these 2, and this is just kind of an odd dark matte. And then you've got this one shimmer. And this is an all over the lid shimmer, sure, but it doesn't really go with the rest of the palette. I felt like when I used this palette, my look wasn't very cohesive. The quality is not good. They're not buildable, they're not blendable. Just, it's a no, and it was an easy bottom for me. Next up, I'm gonna put these 2 together, but separate numbers in the ranking. These are little multi-chrome shimmer quads from Charmacy. Now, I like the Charmacy brand a lot. This is an indie makeup brand. These are just not very good. I was really excited for this yellow, and I just didn't feel like they delivered much. They're supposed to be multi-chromes. I would give them a shimmer at best. They're definitely not those shifty multi-chromes that you would expect from an indie brand. And because they're just shimmer palettes, I would never reach for these again. If I'm going to do an all shimmer palette, it's going to be one from Unearthly Cosmetics, one of my all I ever wanted. I just didn't think these were great. So this and this are the next 2 in the bottom. Next up is the ColourPop Aura and Out palette. Now, I got this in a subscription box, and I was kind of excited about this palette. I thought the color story of this is unique. It's not good. ColourPop has come a long way since the plastic palettes. Number 1, there is 0 shade in here to deepen up a look. Your deepest matte is this orange, which is a light matte. So you're not going to get any depth out of your looks at all. And this white shade is a pressed glitter, and it's not a good pressed glitter. And then the greens were okay. I was really excited about this chartreuse in the middle. These are just a powdery mess. They don't translate on the eyes at all. They're not buildable. They're not blendable. Like I said, ColourPop has come a long way since Aura and Out. Next up is this palette from Laura Geller. This is the Candy Craving palette. Now, this palette has shadows and blushes. The blush and highlighter, or blush and a highlighter, I should say. The blush and highlighter are fine. they're a blush and highlighter. The highlighter is not that Seen from Space highlight that I typically like, but it's a nice highlighter. They apply to the skin nicely. The eyeshadows are not good. There is no pigment at all. I will say I appreciate the range of colors. The fact that we have some light, mid-tone, and deep. We've got some shimmers. It's just not good. They're powdery. There's no color payoff at all, and they're not buildable either. The more I blended away. So the only saving grace of this palette is the blush and eyeshadow, but that's not enough to save it from the bottom. We have the Revolution Mini Reloaded palette. Now, I had another little Revolution Reloaded that I really liked. This one is just not very good. The color story is interesting. This orange I don't really find serves the palette very well, and there's 2 shimmers and 4 mattes. We do have light, medium, and deep. I didn't think this was very good quality, and I know that this is an older Makeup Revolution palette. I think this came in an advent calendar. I also feel similar to ColourPop that their formula has improved over time, and I just couldn't put this any higher, and I don't see this staying in my eyeshadow palette collection. Then we've got a palette from Notoriously Morbid. Now, Notoriously Morbid is an indie makeup brand. I thought I liked them more than I do. The palettes that I tried from them this year were not very good, and I was really sad about this one because I really like the color story of this. This is the Rusted Essence palette. It is a beautiful fall color story. The formula is just not great. Now, the shimmers are beautiful. They're typical indie, sparkly, shifty shimmers. The mattes are not good. We've only got 3 mattes too. We have a green, an orange, and a purple, and they're all mid-tone to deep. There is no light matte. So even really blending these out, they're too dark. You just get this muddy, dark look. I wish they would have taken out one of the shimmers and put in a lighter matte, just so you had something for transition and for blending. It just creates, like I said, a muddy, deep look, and it's just not a very good eyeshadow palette formula. I was truly, truly, truly disappointed because I love the color story. As for the next one from Notoriously Morbid, and this is the It's Fall Y'all palette. Now, again, a really good fall color story. I will say I appreciate the range of mattes in this one. We do have a light, a mid-tone, and a deep, but that's all that we have. We've just got these kind of purple leaning mattes, which is interesting because we've got green shimmer. So if you did a matte look with these and popped on the green, it doesn't really cohesively go together. And then we've got these random actual purples versus the more browny purple. I don't know. I just don't feel like the color story goes. It just doesn't go together, and I struggle to come up with a look that's cohesive. Again, the mattes are not very good. They're powdery, they're not buildable, they're not blendable. The shimmers are good. They're not great, they're good. We have this honker from Beauty Creations. This is the Legend palette. Now, Beauty Creations is a really affordable drugstore price point brand. Now, she's a big mama. She is a big palette of purple. This palette is so redundant. All of the mattes that are the same colorway look exactly the same on the eyes. Now, there is light, medium, and deep. I appreciate that. The majority of the shimmers are pressed glitters, and they're not good pressed glitters. They're craft store pressed glitters. And the shimmers that aren't pressed glitters are not very good. It's just not a good palette. It doesn't really have any differentiation in the shades. I struggle to come up with a look. The quality is not good, especially of the pressed glitters. It's huge, it's large and in charge, and I'm never gonna reach for it again. I feel like I have so many better purple-esque palettes in my collection. Next is this little quad from Profusion. So this is the Sweater Weather Quad Peanuts X Profusion. So this came in an advent calendar, and we got a couple of little quads the year before that were so good. I actually still have the green one in my collection. When I did the testing new makeup with this palette, I specifically said this is not as good as the other quads from Profusion. Not to mention, I mean, I know you're limited on shades because there's 4, but this is the only matte. The red is the only matte. You can't blend that out. You can't create a cohesive look with one deep matte. They would have been smarter to put in a second matte and removing one of the shimmers, because again, I have to pull in another palette to get a cohesive look. I wouldn't do that. And I just don't think the quality of this one is nearly as good as the ones in the past. Next up is from e.l.f. This is the Hot Chocolate Eyes palette. Now, I know e.l.f. is an affordable palette, an affordable brand, and this palette isn't bad. This shimmer right here, this duochrome that shifts from pink to green, I really liked that. That was really beautiful. Now I do have some similar shades in my other palettes. The mattes were okay. They've got your quintessential blue brown, but it's not a very good blue brown. I just don't think this is e.l.f.'s best formula. Similar to ColourPop, I feel like e.l.f.'s eyeshadow formula, kind of like Revolution 2, has improved over time. And I know this palette is no longer available. When I did the testing new makeup, I tried to link it and it's a no longer available palette. I think it's one of the older releases when e.l.f.'s quality just wasn't there. And again, it's a neutral palette that I have 1,000 times in much better formulas. Next up is from Pat McGrath. Now, Pat McGrath is just not one of my favorite eyeshadow brands. I think it's very overpriced for what it is. And this particular palette, this is called the Bijou Brilliance. It is a little 5-pound palette. You've got one matte, and 4 shimmers. Now, similar to a quad, this purple matte, you can't make a look out of it. I actually used this palette just the other day, just to try it again to see if I liked it any better, and I don't. This is too deep. As much as I blended, buffed it out, did everything I could to diffuse it to create a cohesive look, my look was muddy and dark and deep, and it was a no. Now, the shimmers, these 2 lighter ones are really pretty. These 2 are not very good. They're just, like I said, really deep, really muddy, and it's just not a cohesive palette, and I just don't think the formula is that great. I would just not spend my money on Pat McGrath. I feel like spending that price point or less on an indie palette, in my opinion, is a much better use of my money. After using this the other day, will not be reaching for this again. NYX Ultimate Edit palette. This is warm neutrals. This is not a bad palette per se. The quality is actually pretty good. It's better than the e.l.f. quality. There's a good range of mattes. We've got light, medium, and deep. These are your 2 shimmers. They're way too dark. I wish one of these was a little bit lighter shimmer, because once you put those on the lid, you took a look that's kind of a neutral everyday look to something that's a little bit deeper, darker, and muddier. When you don't have a good range of mattes or shimmers or both, your look ends up being deep, dark, and muddy. And that's what I felt like I got from this palette. Now, the size of this is great for travel. If one of those shimmers was a little bit lighter, I would have ranked this a lot higher. I can't get a good look out of just this one palette, so it doesn't make sense to keep this palette if I have to pair it with another one for a lighter shimmer. A Natasha Denona palette. This is the Rose and Wood palette. Now, this palette isn't terrible, but similar to some of the other ones, your only matte in this palette is this one, and she is dark. That is like a black brown. So again, it's really hard to create a cohesive look. However, when I did use this palette, it was a little easier than some of the other ones. That's why it's ranking a little bit higher. Again, I just wish out of the 4 shimmers in a 5-pound palette, one of them was a lighter matte. If this was just a matte, that would have made this palette 1,000 times better. I ended up actually having to use a shimmer to diffuse out my look so that it wasn't so deep, dark, and muddy. So again, it's just the colors that they're choosing, the mattes versus shimmers, just it doesn't make a lot of sense. I would rather have more mattes and less shimmers so that I can create a cohesive kind of one and done look. The quality though is really good, like Natasha Denona is. Next up comes from Catrice, and this palette does not have a name. It's just the Catrice eyeshadow palette. Now, this came in an advent calendar, and this is actually decent. It's a decent palette. Now, it does have light, medium, and deep mattes. I love the inclusion of the teal. I think that's really fun. I remember popping that on my waterline, on my lower lash line. I do also like that they've got a purple shimmer so that you don't have to have just a neutral look. It's okay. It's not the best formula of shimmers or mattes. The shimmers are a little lackluster. The mattes, they're buildable and blendable, but there's so many other palettes that I have that are just a little bit better. But if I'm going to reach for a drugstore palette out of everything, so far, it would definitely be the Catrice. Next is the Just Desserts palette from Ice Cream Beauty and Ladybug Glow. So this came in my Ice Cream Beauty subscription box. I love Ladybug Glow. They have a really, really good formula, and that stands for this palette. The formula of the mattes and the shimmers is really good. They're beautiful indie shimmers. My only issue with this palette and why it's ranking a little lower is I don't know what to do. I don't know what look to create because we've only got mid-tone and deep mattes. Really, truly, this yellow is the lightest matte and it is a mid-tone. So similar to everything else below, we need a little bit lighter matte. I mean, everything is so mid-tone to dark that it's really hard to create a nice cohesive eye look. The shimmer's beautiful, especially the shade Cake right here. This is gorgeous. You guys see like an orange, it's red when I look at it. Love it. I actually really like the blue and the purple. I just, again, would have to pull in another matte palette for some lighter shades. And that to me just doesn't make sense. Especially what if I want to travel? I want to take a palette that has everything and I couldn't do that, unfortunately, with this palette. The formula though is really, really good. It's good. I don't know if it'll stay in my collection just because it's not a cohesive palette. And just kind of a side note, I think the outside packaging is awful. It is a jumbled mess, kind of like the Color Story. We've got from DD Signature, this is the Lion's Heart palette. Now, DD Signature is an indie brand and their formula is so good. I have really been impressed with DD Signature. This palette came in a subscription box. The reason this is ranking a little bit lower is, again, the Color Story. It's a little jumbled. It's hard for me to come up with a look. I remember when I tested this out, I had to really think about what I wanted to do. And similarly to the one from Ladybug Glow, we don't really have a lot of light. Our only light is this green and this pink. And again, they're mid-tone. It would be nice to have a lighter matte. The shimmers are chef's kiss. That's where DD Signature shines. She has great mattes, but her shimmers are exquisite. And it's just jumbled. And it's just hard for me to come up with a look. And when I have a palette that I struggle to come up with a look, I don't want to reach for it. So that's why I had to rank it where it is. Not necessarily the quality, but more of the Color Story. Next up is Bunny Love. And this is from Sugar Drizzle, I believe. Yes, from Sugar Drizzle Cosmetics. The packaging is really cute. This is a palette that has a shimmer, that has a highlight, a blush, and a glowy blush. Those are beautiful. This glowy blush is really, really beautiful, and the highlighter is really nice as well. The face products are great. The Color Story, Where's the dark matte? Where is it? They're all light tones. They're all light and mid-tone. So all these palettes before that didn't have a light tone. This one only has light tones. This is your deepest shade right here, and this is 1 gazillion% a medium matte. It is not deep enough to add any depth to your look. And again, I look at this palette and I can't think of a single eye look to do with it. I can't think of a single one. I feel like it's an odd combination of mattes. We've got 2 neutrals and a green, but there is 0 green shimmer. So if I pop this green matte in, none of these shimmers go with it. It's just a mess. It's a mess. The face products are great. The eyeshadows are not. I will honestly never reach for this again. Natasha Denona, and this is the Hot Topic palette. Now, this is a cool toned palette. This one's a little bit better than the other one, even though, because what the other one was lacking was more than 1 matte. We've got 2. What this one is lacking is a deep matte. So thank you, Natasha, for 2, but these are not deep enough and dark enough for a cohesive look. This one is very close to my skin tone, so it's a great transition shade. And then I have 1 matte. So what I had to do is use this shimmer as a matte. And I don't love to do that. I wish in this case, there was 1 more matte and 1 less shimmer. This is a pretty deep dark shimmer. You really can't do much with that, and that's why I used it as a matte. I had to use it to add depth to my eye look. The formula is really good. I like that it's cool toned, but again, the way that these are laid out is just bizarre to me. There's either not enough mattes, too many mattes, too light a mattes, too dark a matte. Can't we just have it all just be cohesive so we can create an eye look from 1 5-pan palette? Now, this next palette actually took me by surprise. This is a pretty good palette, and I have reached for this palette quite a few times because I love these pink shades. This is from Moira, and this is the Like a Melody palette. The formula of this is really, really good. Now, to be fully transparent, I have not used the purples. Like I said, love these right here. Just these reds and these pinks and this shimmer called, what are you called? Modern Melodies. Now, the only 2 shimmers in this palette are the purple and the Modern Melodies. So when I'm creating a look, I'm leaning heavy on mattes and I'm putting Modern Melodies over my entire lid, which is fine. It's a beautiful shimmer. Unlike the others, I wish this one had maybe 1 more shimmer and 1 less matte. And I think that would make it a much more cohesive palette, maybe a lighter shimmer because both of these are fairly dark. But like I said, I've reached for this palette multiple times. I just wore this not too long ago. So unlike the other ones that I really don't have an interest in using again, this one I've reached for a few times. Now we're gonna get into the good palettes. Like this is where the ranking got a lot harder for me because I like all of these, so it took some time to really think about where I wanted to place them. Now, I enjoy Clarity Cosmetics a lot. They have a really good formula. This palette came in a subscription box, and I think when you look at it, you're going to know why it couldn't rank any higher. The shimmers, 10 out of 10 out of 10. So good. This emerald green, oh, she's gorgeous. These are your two mattes. So I felt like similar to the Pat McGrath palette, my look was deep, dark, and muddy. I really, really wish that if you're only gonna put in two mattes, make one deep and dark and one a little bit lighter. Even if they stuck with this same color and just made it a mid-tone, you could get a much better look out of it. I feel like, again, it's just deep and dark. So for my preference, I would have to pull in another matte palette to try to get a lighter shade, and that's why I just couldn't rank it any higher. But like I said, the shimmers are amazing, and the formula is really, really good. And we've got the Mighty Monster palette from Odin's Eye Cosmetics and Annette's Makeup Corner. Now, Odin's Eye, I used to love Odin's Eye. Really, truly, like, loved the Odin's Eye brand. They just have not been a brand that I've been interested in at all. I have not purchased a single palette this year. This actually came in a mystery box, and that's the only reason I have it. Now, the quality is really good. This is the really good Odin's Eye quality. My only complaint about this palette and why it's not ranked higher is it's hard to come up with a look. Everything is mid-tone and deep in the mattes. There's really not a light matte. This is your lightest matte, and what if I don't want a neutral look? What if I want to use some of these amazing colors? I don't know. I struggle to come up with a look. I think this blue's weird. I haven't used it. I don't even know how I would incorporate it because none of the shimmers really go. I don't know. I just don't love the color story, and it's a palette I struggle to create an eye look. And that doesn't want to make me reach for it. Let's talk about some ColourPop and the ColourPop Stranger Things palette. Now, this came in a mystery box. I have only purchased very few ColourPop things this year. I actually purchased the Christmas collection that will be coming up in a testing new makeup because I have not had a chance to use it. But the Stranger Things, again, came in a mystery box. I have, full transparency, never seen the show. Never seen the show. I struggle with this one too because there's really not a lot of depth in the mattes. You've got a couple of light, but they're really not that light. And then we've got this yellow, which is actually a really pretty shade. My issue with this palette is the shimmers are all dark. This is the only light shimmer, and it's more of a mid-tone, and it's blue leaning. So it doesn't really go with any of the top of the eyeshadow palette. And I didn't think that the mattes were that great. I think when ColourPop collabs with brands, companies, movies, they're just not as good of quality. I think the quality lacks. I think just the regular ColourPop palettes are a lot better. And I don't have any tie to the show. I've never seen it. And it gives me Glamlight Color Story vibes, and I think Glamlight is just such a better formula than the ColourPop. Next up is from Gourmand Girls. This is the Mocha Moment palette. Gourmand Girls formula is absolutely incredible, and this palette is really nice. The only reason it's ranking a little bit lower, and it was hard to rank these, like I said, is it's neutral. It's a neutral palette. There is a pop of green. That's great, but it's a neutral palette. So if I'm going to reach for a neutral, I don't know that it would be this one. I have used this several times. I think the formula is really, really good. I also think it lacks a little bit of depth. There's not really a lot of light options in the mattes. These are your lights, and they're more of a mid-tone. There's a lot of deep, dark mattes. And this kind of swirly shimmer, what are you called? You are called, and I can hardly read some of these, Mexican Mocha. Blasé. I was disappointed in that. I think some of the other shimmers, like this one up here, Marble Mocha, is so much better. It's not the best Gourmand Girls palette. And it's neutral, so for me, it just is gonna naturally rank a little bit lower. I think it will stay in my collection, that's to be determined, but the Mocha Moment palette, I just couldn't put it any higher. Nomad, and this is the Chamois Après Ski palette. I love Nomad. I am on Nomad's PR list, so I do get all of their upcoming releases, all of their palettes. You're gonna see a lot of Nomad in here. Love this brand. Truly, truly love Nomad. I think their quality is amazing. Nothing wrong with the quality of this palette. I'll say I appreciate that they've got pinks laid together, greens, and blue purples together. Love that. It makes creating an eye look easy. I also appreciate we got a light, mid-tone, and deep matte in each of the color stories. It doesn't excite me. Not that it's not a good palette and it's not a good formula. I don't really want to reach for it. And maybe I need to really stick with monochromatic rather than mixing and matching the shades. Maybe I would reach for it more if I wanted a pink look, a green look, or a blue purple leaning look. So I don't think I'll get rid of it. It's just not my favorite Nomad release color story wise. We got another ColourPop palette, and this is Toy Story. Now I did purchase this palette myself. This is one of the collections from ColourPop that I purchased. This is pretty good. It's pretty good ColourPop formula. It's better than the Stranger Things, even though it's a collab with a movie, but it's not the best ColourPop formula. It's better. It's better than the other. The issue with this, again, is depth. We have got, unlike the other palettes with all the dark mattes, we've got all the light mattes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the mattes are lightish, and then we've got one dark matte and it's brown. So again, I struggle to come up with a look. If I'm gonna use this pastel yellow, green, or pink, I don't want my deep dark shade to be brown. I need like a darker pink or a darker green. I do appreciate the shimmers. I think they've got a nice range of shimmers. The only shimmer I question is the purple. I really don't know how I would include that because there's no purple leaning matte. It's kind of a mess. Truthfully, it's kind of a mess. The quality is good though. It's the good ColourPop quality. I love Toy Story. I truly, truly love Toy Story. I just feel like the colors are Toy Story. They are. I just wish that the depth range was a little different. We've got another Nomad palette. This is the Fairy Tale Europe. Okay, the packaging is amazing. Nomad does such a great job with their packaging. The color story is good, but it's interesting. So your mattes are along the bottom and they're all neutral. Now I know they did that on purpose and I actually like that all the mattes are neutral. We got light, medium, and deep. Thank you. And then where you get your pop of color are the shimmers. My only reason this is a little lower, the quality is fantastic, is I do struggle a little bit. Even though I can easily pick a light, mid-tone, and deep matte, I just feel like sometimes my eye looks are weird looking because the mattes are all neutral and then bam, I've got this random pop of color. That's my only complaint. I appreciate the thought behind the all neutral mattes. I just feel like for me, it's number one, hard to create a look. And number two, I sometimes just feel like it just doesn't look right because I'm neutral with bam, a pop of color. The quality is really good. I absolutely love this shade right here. I mean, the shimmers are amazing. I can definitely see myself pulling these shimmers in with maybe a different array of mattes. I appreciate the idea and the concept behind the palette. It's just a bit of a struggle for me. Natasha Denona, and this is the Bloom palette. Now I got this in a subscription box. I think it was a Trend Mood box. It's okay. It's a neutral palette. Really, truly, it's a neutral palette. The only reason it's ranking a little bit higher, I've used this palette several times and I really like these kind of rusty, pinky red shades. I'm always on the hunt for a rust red leaning look, and that's where I've reached into this one. There's also light, mid-tone, and deep mattes, and the shimmers in this palette are really nice, and there's a good variety. It is not hard to come up with a look. I can easily mix and match these, and I feel like my look is very cohesive. And these palettes prior, I didn't necessarily feel that way. The formula is really good. It's just not the most exciting color story. She neutral, but I have used it several times, and I do enjoy it. Next up is another palette from Clarity Cosmetics, and this is the Bloom palette. Now this one is really good quality. The mattes are amazing, the shimmers are amazing, but just like the other Clarity palette, there is zero mid-tone or light mattes. So you're getting a really deep, dark look, which I'm sure was the inspiration behind the color story. What makes this a little bit higher in the ranking are the shimmers. The shimmers are so good. This actually looks a lot like a Glam Light palette that I have. If you know, you know. The quality of this one is better than Glam Light, especially the shimmers. The mattes are wonderful. They're very, very pigmented. A little bit goes a long way. I just wish there was a lighter matte or two, because I just feel like what you're gonna get is deep, dark, and muddy. that's what you're gonna get. You're not really gonna have a big variety. And because of that, I like this palette because of the quality, but the color story, just like the other Clarity, is so deep and dark. I wish that there was just a little more variety, especially in the mattes and the shimmers. There's not a single light shimmer in here either. Got another Nomad palette. This is the Route 66 palette. Again, packaging 10 out of 10. This palette was my favorite Nomad with neons. So why this is ranked a little higher is because these neons are so fun. When I created my eye look for my video, I used all the neon shimmers. Love that. I think that is very unique for Nomad. Specifically, they don't have another palette with neon shimmers. Now the mattes in here, they're good. We've got light, mid-tone, and deep. My only complaint, similar to what palette was it? Oh, the other Nomad, the Fairy Tale Europe. These neons are fantastic, but they don't really go with any of the mattes. Again, I'm limited. I can't really do a green eye look and pop in a pink shimmer. I mean, I could, but it's not going to look very good. So again, I'm limited to the mattes on this end of the palette, which are very neutral and orange leaning. And then I've got, like I said, these amazing neon shimmers that don't really go with the mattes. I wish there was just maybe either a pink matte or even a blue leaning matte just to tie those in a little bit more, but I love the neon shimmer, so it just had to rank just a little bit higher. Next up is from Gourmand Girls, and this is the Bitten palette. Again, the reason this is just not a little bit higher is nothing to do with the quality. It's also giving me Glam Light vibes too, like the wine palette and what is it, the Scooby collection, one of those. This one's a little bit better. There are some, I don't want to say light mattes, but lighter mid-tone mattes. We've got this gray and we've got this purple. This gray is interesting. I used it and I don't know that it goes with the rest of the palette so much. And then we got a lot of dark. We've got a lot of dark mattes. We've got a lot of dark shimmers. This is our only light shimmer and it serves better as an inner corner highlight. It is like a shifty gold to pink. So when I created my look, it's deep and dark. And again, I just wish that there was just a little bit more variety. I wish that this gray wasn't here and maybe it was a lighter pink that would go with the wines in here. But overall, the quality is really good. I've used this palette several times. I just wish there was a lighter matte. That's my only complaint. We've got another Gourmand Girls palette, and this is the Call of the Sirens. Now, I used to be on Gourmand Girls PR list, so I would get a lot of their palettes. I'm not on their PR list anymore, which is completely fine. So I haven't purchased anything from the brand. I will say right out of the gate, the shimmers, chef's kiss. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I personally love Gourmand Girls. I think their formulas of their mattes and their shimmers are fantastic. Similar to the one we just talked about from them, where are the light mattes? Everything is so mid-tone and deep. There is not a single light matte in here. You cannot call this a light matte. This is 100% a mid-tone pink. And if you want to do a green look, a purple look, you are stuck with all deep dark mattes. And I just don't love that. I need some variety. I need something to diffuse and blend. I need something to set my crease. Where am I going to set my crease? Where am I going to have a transition shade? There just isn't one. And then we've got this odd brown matte, which is fine for a pop of neutral. It just doesn't really go. I don't know. I don't love it. I don't love the color story of this. It's too deep. It's too dark. The formula is really, really, really good. The mattes, the shimmers are amazing. That's why it ranked a little bit higher. I find consistently with Gourmand Girls though, their matte selection is just odd. It's very deep and dark, and I wish that would change. I think that would prompt me to purchase more from the brand. We have the Lonely Scarecrow from Poppy and Fluff Cosmetics. Now, this was in my ice cream beauty box. I had never heard of this brand before. This palette is really good. This is an amazing fall palette. This is the color story. This color story screams fall. The only reason it's a little bit lower is, again, there's no light matte. We've got mid-tone and deep. That is it. I appreciate that there's a lot of deep and dark for depth and for layering. The shimmers are beautiful. I love this shade right here called Raggedy. It's like this yellow, pinky, shifty shade. It's beautiful. I just want something a little bit lighter. However, the quality is really good. The mattes are fantastic. They're so pigmented and buildable. The shimmers are beautiful. I also love this shade Leaves. If I want a red corally leaning shimmer. I've reached for this one a few times. You can see she's very well loved. And I actually really like this coral shade. So I like this palette a lot. I just wish they'd pop in a lighter matte. We got another ColourPop palette. Actually, this is the last ColourPop palette, and I did purchase this myself. This is the Shrek collection. I love the Shrek movie. I will say, I like the color story because I like a good green. I like a good murky color story. The quality is not the best ColourPop. It's the good ColourPop. It's not the great ColourPop. I do appreciate the light mid-tone mattes. There's just not a lot of depth. That was my one complaint with the mattes. I mean, I guess you could call these three your deepest mattes. You could call these three your deepest mattes, but none of them are deep. They're mid-tone for sure. There is not a deep matte to deepen up the look. I think that the choice of shimmers is really good. There's a little bit of everything. We got light, mid-tone, and deep. This green is beautiful. This is your lightest matte right here, which is great. It's a great transition shade. My only complaint, number one, is I wish there was a little deeper matte. And number two, the formula is just not the great ColourPop. However, I do like this palette. I've reached for this palette. It motivates me, it inspires me. That's why it's ranking a little bit higher. Next up from Ensley Rain, which I don't think that they're a brand anymore, actually, is the What the Fox palette. This is such a fun little palette. This is what a 6-pan palette should be. Light, mid-tone, deep. Everything you need in a matte. The two shimmers are amazing. They're sparkly and beautiful. And this, I can open it and I can create an eye look like that. There's no thinking involved. They have done a really good job of placing the mattes and shimmers in this palette, and the formula is fantastic. The only reason it's not ranking higher is because, again, you're limited. There's really just a few eye looks you can create out of this palette, but it's really, really good. Next up is from Beauty Bay, and this is the Desert Haze. I think this is the only Beauty Bay palette that I purchased in 2025, and I'm not mad about it. I actually really, really like this palette. I live in Arizona, so anything deserty is my vibe. And this palette is very well laid out. Light, mid-tone, deep mattes, light, mid-tone, deep shimmers. Love that there is a blue shimmer, because with a neutral look and popping a blue shimmer on the lid is beautiful. This yellow shade right here is gorgeous. This multi-chrome is beautiful. And Beauty Bay is such an affordable brand, and the quality is really, really good. It's neutral. That's why it's not a little bit higher, but I will say that I have reached for this palette multiple times, and especially for the price, it's fantastic. Next up is from Blend Bunny, and this is the plastic palette. This is one of the odd shapes for Blend Bunny. They're typically more of a square. You're gonna see one coming up here shortly, but they went with this shape for this palette, and I really like it. This is called Plastic, and this is fun because it's neutral, it's pink, and then we've got these rando shimmer shades that make it so fun, like this blue right here and like this neon Barbie pink. And this is all about the pursuit of perfection with plastic surgery, and I think they've done a really great job with the color story. I love that there's multi-chromes and duochromes. We've got light, mid-tone, and deep mattes. It's a fun color story. It's kind of a jumbled color story, but in a good way. I like the size of it. I could see myself taking this for travel because we've got color, we've got neutral. It's really good. Blend Bunny is one of my favorite brands for a reason. Speaking of Blend Bunny, let's jump into the other one from this year. I did purchase this palette as well. This is their Beauty Below palette. So this is their mermaid siren inspired palette. This is the typical size of Blend Bunny. So like I said, that plastic palette was kind of fun. This is a fantastic palette. Absolutely fantastic. My only complaint is the range of mattes. And I know it's meant to be this kind of sultry siren vibe, but there's just no light mattes in here at all. They're all mid-tone and deep. I found when I created my eye look, I had to blend and go very light-handed because Blend Bunny is so pigmented. Otherwise, again, I ended up with a deep, dark, murky eye look. But the quality of the mattes is incredible. The shimmers are stunning. Absolutely stunning. Blend Bunny thrives. Blend Bunny's mattes are pretty much the best that you can find. So that's why it's ranking higher. And I was not disappointed in the shimmers at all. I get the vibe of the palette. I just wish there was just maybe one or two lighter leaning mattes. Comes from Nomad, and this is the Witch City Salem palette. Look at that, isn't that fun? This was their little Halloween release palette. This one is really fun. I very much appreciate how Nomad lays out their palettes. It makes creating an eye look effortless. We've got some green neutrals, we've got our pinks, and we've got our purples. The only light matte is this one. That's my complaint. What if I want a green look? I don't have a light green matte. What if I want a pink look? I definitely don't have a pink matte. So I am limited to using this light purple matte that doesn't go with the rest for a lighter look. If I wanted to do an all pinky purple look, it's dark. Same with the greens. Now the quality is really good. I think the color story, like I said, is laid out really nicely. It's easy to create looks. The mattes are great. The shimmers are great. I just wish that instead of mid-tone and deep, especially in this row, I wish they would have done this, where there was one light, one mid-tone, one deep. I think that just really helps create a more cohesive eye look. That's my only complaint. Other than that, the quality is outstanding. Natasha Denona. Now this is gonna be a bit of a surprise if you know me. I love a good colorful eye look. I mean, I'm wearing a neutral look today actually, but I love a colorful eye look. I reach for this palette all the time. All the time, and I got this in a subscription box. This is the Natasha Denona Bronze. She neutral. She a warm tone neutral palette, but I use this a lot. When I'm like, I just want a warm tone neutral look, this one comes to mind. That's why I ranked it higher. I use it a lot. Light, mid-tone, and deep mattes. My only complaint is there's not really any light shimmer, so I typically use my highlighter as my inner corner highlight. And my only other complaint with this palette is that a lot of it looks a lot alike, especially in the shimmers. These shimmers all look a lot alike outside of the pop of purple and the pop of pink. I think there could have been a little more variation in depth of the shimmers and mattes, but I use it a lot. I use this palette a lot. We got another Nomad palette in our final Nomad palette in the ranking. This is the Pacific Northwest, and this one definitely has my heart because I'm from the Pacific Northwest. My husband and I moved from Spokane, Washington to Arizona about 4 years ago. I grew up in Spokane. So I had a little bit of a special place in my heart for this palette. The packaging is the amazing Nomad packaging, and it is a gazillion% a Pacific Northwest color story. It looks a lot like the Shrek from ColourPop, honestly, but the quality of this one is a lot better. The mattes are great. The shimmers are great. I love this yellow leaning multi-chrome. Yellow's my favorite color, so if I can get a pop of yellow, I'm in. My only complaint is the range of mattes. There's no light mattes with the exception of this green. And again, what if I want a blue look or a neutral look? This one is barely light enough, but there is no light matte in the green. This is really a mid-tone. So again, I'm getting a deeper, darker look, and I just wish there was maybe one or two lighter mattes. Other than that, it's incredible. The mattes are great. The shimmers are great. The color story is amazing. This green multi-chrome right here, what are you called? Ectopia? Ecotopia. Oh, she's so good. You guys see like a green, I see like a teal. They're just really dark. Everything's just dark. That's my only complaint. That is the only complaint. We've got a Cosmic Beauty palette, Cosmic Brushes, one of my favorite indie brands, and this is the Lovers palette. So this was their Valentine's Day release. One of the best matte and shimmer formulas out there. It always is a top choice for me. I typically purchase everything that they release, and I'm happy I have this palette. This is beautiful. We've got our neutrals and pinks and our greens and blues, and thank you Cosmic Beauty for light, mid-tone, and deep in all of the colors. Creating an eye look with this is so easy. It's effortless. The multi-chromes are amazing. This multi-chrome connection, this multi-chrome faithful, this deep, dark communication. Oh, she good, she's sultry. This is just a really, really good palette. No complaints, no complaints. The color story is a little bit more lighter leaning, a little bit more ethereal leaning, which is what the Lovers palette was. That's the only reason it's ranking a little lower, but 10 out of 10 out of 10 out of 10. Love this palette. We've got an Unearthly Cosmetics, and you're probably wondering like, girl, you usually buy everything Unearthly releases and you've shown us nothing. I have not been buying a lot of eyeshadow palettes this year. I really, truly have way too many. And I've really made a valiant effort to not purchase palettes that I'm not absolutely positively in love with. This is a palette that I really, really wanted to have. It is the Small Compact Unearthly. This is the Thinking of You palette. And this is a neutral palette. I wanted this specifically for an easy neutral look and for travel, and it delivers just that. We've got 5 mattes and 4 shimmers. We've got pinks, warm neutrals. This coral is beautiful. This palette is so easy to use. The quality is the amazing Unearthly, the mattes, the shimmers. I wish one of the mattes was just a little lighter because really this is your only light and it's orange, which is fine. I just maybe wish one of these that look fairly similar would have been a little bit lighter, but it is great. The shimmers are fantastic and it is the perfect size for travel. They're down to the last two. And I will tell you right now, it was really hard for me to decide which took this number 2 spot and which took my top spot. But after thinking long and hard, my number 2 palette of the year is the Green Goddess palette, the Bella Beauté Bar Green Goddess palette. When this was released, I was like, come to mama. She murky, she dark, she green. And those are all things that I absolutely love. And this palette did not disappoint. Every single eye look I've created is perfection. It is so easy. The mattes blend out beautifully. We've got light, mid-tone, and deep mattes, thank you. We've got light and deep shimmers, and the shimmers. Oh my gosh, this shade right here, Fertility, she is the most beautiful multi-chrome. She's green and minty and gold. Even these purple leaning ones, this palette is really good. There are countless looks you can get with this. You could do neutral with a pop of blue and purple on the lid and it looks incredible. And the quality of the mattes in every way, shape, and form is perfect. This is the only Bella Beauté Bar palette I purchased this year and I love her. I'm so glad that I got it. And like I said, it was really hard to rank her at number 2 and not in the number 1 spot. The number 1 spot, drum roll please, probably won't come as much of a surprise, and it is from Cosmic Beauty. This is their newest release. I did purchase the entire release and I love it all. This is the Starlight Society palette. Everything about this palette is amazing. The color story, the range of mattes, the shimmers, the cohesiveness, the ease. It's so good. And really, this is like a one and done. You've got pinks, blues, purples, neutrals. It's every eyeshadow palette you would need in one. Light, mid-tone, and deep mattes. Light, mid-tone, and deep shimmers. Beautiful multi-chromes. Mood Ring and Starlight Society are incredible multi-chromes, as well as this shade Shawl. It's just so good. It's so good. I love that when I open this palette, I can stick to the rose to create monochromatic looks. I can mix and match. We've got our lighter on the bottom, our mid-tone in the middle, and our deeper on the top. So it kind of helps you choose one from here, choose one from here, and choose one from here. Just everything about the palette is perfect. The layout, the mattes, the shimmers. It was easy to place this at the top. It was just hard to rank it with Green Goddess 1 or 2, but honestly, because there's more versatility in this palette, that's why I put it as number 1. And by the way, Cosmic Beauty is an affordable indie brand, and the quality is unmatched, absolutely unmatched. So number 1 is the Starlight Society from Cosmic Beauty. So those are all of the palettes that I tried in 2025 ranked from worst to best. Let me know down below, what do you think of my ranking? We may not agree and that's fine. We all have different taste in makeup, but I feel like I rank these truly in a way that works for me. And like I said, those ones at the bottom probably won't stay in my collection and the ones at the top will. Let me know if you've tried any of these, which are your favorites, least favorites. Let me know down below. And like I said, I'll link them all. If you want to pick them up, I really appreciate using my links. It really, really helps me out. And give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and stay tuned for Declutter. Bye, friends.